If you have ever uttered the words late-term abortion, partial birth abortion, third trimester abortion, abortion up until birth, after birth abortion, Jesus fucked up, anything of the sort in an attempt to make an anti-abortion argument, you, and I'm going to say this in the absolute kindest way humanly possible, lack the requisite information processing and critical thinking skills required to entitle you to any opinion on the subject ever. Now, let me be very clear. I am 100% for legal abortion without exception. I don't give a shit about heartbeats. I don't give a shit about specific numbers of weeks. I don't give a shit how much money your organizations didn't spend helping actual real-life pregnant women so they could put up billboards telling us that a fetus had fingerprints. I am pro-choice with zero exceptions. And either you are too or you're fucking wrong. And that's not an opinion. You're just wrong. Even the reasons you think you're right about, you're still wrong. Morally wrong. Ethically wrong. Legally wrong. But you know me. I'm not just going to tell you you're wrong. I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong in great detail. Shall we? Now first, legally, despite the corrupt Supreme Court's recent bullshit, this has always been a long upheld precedent. The Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable search and seizure. This is what we consider our right to privacy. That right to privacy is why you get to keep your medical records private. That protection from unreasonable search and seizure, as well as the Fifth Amendment's protection of not allowing the government to just take your shit without compensation, is exactly why the government can't compel you to use your body to keep somebody else alive in terms of blood, tissue, or organ donation. Even when you're dead, if you have not given written consent to be an organ donor, the government cannot compel the use of your organs, which you are no longer using, to save little Jimmy the cancer patient's life. Just let that sink in. Because beyond that, I have no fucking idea how to explain more transparently how ridiculous the idea of legal abortion bans are, when the legal concept of bodily autonomy in our country is so fucking absolute that the government can't even compel dead people who are no longer using their body and organs anymore to use their body and organs to save real living children that are breathing in the real world and have real names and shit. And then to know that and then argue that the government should be able to compel a woman to use her body and her organs to sustain something that isn't even a fucking person is bonkers to me. Y'all are literally arguing that living, breathing women have less bodily autonomy than dead people. That argument is so insanely stupid. It should just never go beyond that point. It should stop dead right there. And the fact that it continues to get argued well beyond that point all the time is just ludicrous and not in the Mr. Wiggles kind of way. So that's how you're wrong legally, but how about morally and ethically? Well, obviously, just right off the bat, arguing that women deserve less legal rights than dead people is kind of morally fucked up. But getting into the moral argument, it always inevitably goes to late-term abortions. Oh, how could you abort an almost baby? And I can understand why you would totally feel that way and think that way if you just didn't think about it at all. Like, y'all are out here straight up with a straight face saying that you honestly believe that women are going through 9 months of pregnancy, dealing with morning sickness and weird cravings and swollen feet and stretch marks, blowing up like a beach ball so everybody who sees you knows you're pregnant for like months. And then after 8.5 months of that shit, you really think women are like, nah, psych, I changed my mind. Like, that's a real thing that you think really happens, that real people do in the real world. Just think about how stupid that fucking sounds. If they couldn't have gotten an abortion at any time during their pregnancy when it was as simple as taking a pill and they weren't showing and nobody knew and it would just be something that they know happened and nobody else besides their doctor. But instead, they wait for months so they can go through a really invasive and traumatic surgery. Why would they do that? Why would anyone do that? No one would do that. It's the dumbest fucking thing ever. And even if you found a woman who actually wanted to do that, which you wouldn't because that's not a real thing, you're not going to find a doctor who would do that. If the baby's viable, the baby is getting born at that point. The doctor will do a C-section or induce labor. They aren't doing an abortion on a viable baby just cause for funsies. So why would a person have a late-term abortion, which isn't honestly a thing? At that point, it is just giving birth to a stillborn. The only reason is because the baby isn't viable and or there's an extreme risk to the mother's health. So now the moral and ethical question, is it morally or ethically okay to force a woman to carry a non-viable or dead fetus to term? And if your answer to that is yes, we're not the same. Your concept of morals and ethics is completely corrupted. Like, if that's what you truly believe, there's no point to continue having this conversation because clearly you don't view women as human. And then the argument always inevitably goes to, oh, well, I believe in exceptions for health of the mother. No, you don't. That's a lie. Because we've all seen how those exceptions work. They don't. Because now, if doctors could be held criminally liable for performing a procedure, they are often just not gonna do it. Because why would they put themselves in a position where they have to legally and publicly explain why they performed a procedure to a bunch of lunatics who think that they should be locked up for murder for performing such procedures? And even if you do find a doctor who's willing to do it, all the fucking legal hoops that they've got to jump through to perform the procedure usually ends up wasting so much goddamn time that the women who need the procedures end up injured or dead. So you're gonna tell me that because you've got some big fee-fees about the private medical decisions between a woman woman and her doctor that you think it's ethically and morally okay to put laws in place that interfere with the doctor helping their patient. We're seeing this all the time in states with really restrictive abortion bans like Texas and Utah. So just to be clear, you guys think that the morally and ethically correct thing to do is legally put women in harm's way as a solution to something that doesn't exist. Also, you can feel better about fixing a problem you yourself made up. A make-believe problem, no less, that is so incredibly stupid that all you need to do to realize it's not a real problem is think about it. Like, really, just think about it for a few seconds. Just ponder it for a moment, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, no, that's definitely not a real thing that real people would do. And then once you have that epiphany, you can move on to more important tasks, like minding your own goddamn business, because that's all you should really be doing.